on a slide during, in his fine arts lecture. Fair use yan, education. Use reporting, nire-report that the artist, the maker of this work, yan. Tapos ipa-flash nila sa news, hindi yan covered ng copyright. So these are called fair use. Sa library, merong reproduction doon for teaching purposes. Again, fair use. Usually, ang fair use, walang intention to make money off your work. So, kunwari, a school decides for a commercial viewing of your work, for instance, yung mga filmmakers, papalabas nila, may question na yun. Saan pupunta yung proceeds nun? Proceeds go to the school, tax-free na yun, automatic. It's a gray area, but usually schools can argue fair use kasi for educational purposes. But, pag yan malaki na yung kinikita nila, usually you can go after the copyright. And you can go after the royalties. Questions on copyright? Mabilis lang to, pero we can ask specifics. Yes po. About? No. That's copyright. Diba? You don't have to register. The copyright exists from the moment of creation. Even your resale right. But your evidence is in the registration. So paano mo hahabulin kung wala kang ebidensya? For good housekeeping. No, the right exists from the moment of creation. But your right is only as good as how well you can prove it, diba? So this is your proof. Your registration will be your evidence. And usually that's irrefutable. No. Certificate of registration, usually that's issued by the gallery. That could be an indication. That is proof that there's a gallery sale. Diba? So, ibig sabihin, dahil a gallery sale yan, may right ka. So, that's proof of the sale of the gallery, but not necessarily proof that you own the work. So, iba yung copyright. Ownership, economic right, moral right. Yes po. Sa tinagal-tagal natin magkaibigan.
Parang tulong lang din sa kanila. Dalawa po yung tanong ko. Yung una, di ba, pinagbibintangan natin na art ngayon ay parang money laundering. Kasi daw walang paper trail. Pero sa lahat, meron naman. Pangalawa po, yung copyright issue, di ba ang uso ngayon si Mickey Mouse tapos na roll yung copyright niya, pwede na siya
I think
magiging.
so. 95 years.
Ilang years?
95. Ganito. Okay. Your copyright exists for your entire life and 50 years after your death. It's so that yung heirs na naghirap kasama mo, nung gumagawa pa kayo ng work mo, last 50 years. So, sa US kasi, kaya naging 95 yan, the US copyright law allows for an extension. So, ginamit yun ng Disney. Actually, Disney was the one who helped put in that provision in their copyright law. Kasi, ngayon, Mickey Mouse na can be used anywhere. Bakit yan? Because this copyright is a specialized right. Hindi yan human right. Because now of its economic nature. It's recognition of your work, of your hard work. However, may limitations yan. Because the state balances the interest of the individual artist with the interest of the general population to be able to use, to be inspired by, or to create more works. So, dalawa yung interest dyan. Sa umpisa, kayo ang mamamayagpag. 50 years after your death, iba na po ang mas pinahahalagahan. Okay? So, finite yan. That's why you can sell your copyright. You can sell your economic right, but you cannot sell a moral right. Yeah. Now, what if you're an employee? Because during your work, you create creative work. Whether it is part of your job or not, hindi pwedeng i-claim ng employer nyo yun. So if you're an artist, you're employed as an artist, you do work. Number one, the moral right cannot be given away. So, pwedeng, sabihin ng employer mo, ilalagay yung name mo, but under the company name. Pwede yon. Pero, you still own the copyright of that. So, if the company decides to sell multiples of your work, kailangan kumita kayo doon. Or, the company buys the work from you and buys the copyright. So, remember that if ever you're an employee. So, yes, ma'am. Mm. Mm. This is a law. So, they might argue that it's in writing naman and therefore we need mo. But the law is clear, there has to be a separate copyright contract. So, pwede silang i-demanda actually. Yes. But I wouldn't suggest na magpabuli kayo ng gano'n. You can, what some people do is, in their contract, they reserve. Lalagay nyo dun sa clause na yun that you don't agree to that. Pag nakita ng employer nyo, that's a new round of negotiation. So, sabihin mo, it has to be in a separate contract and for a separate consideration. Hindi pwedeng kasama siya dun sa bayad mo as an employee. You have to buy your copyright. Malamang paparating ka, but at least, and you can put it there that it's temporary for the duration of your employment. Kapag hindi ka na employee, pwede mong gamitin. Otherwise, kailangan bilhin nila. Because this is the law, I'm not saying you will always win. But you will win a lawsuit. A lawsuit isn't easy though. You need a lawyer and costs. Okay pa so far? So yung labor na yun yung pinag-uusapan natin. That is the labor implication. The fruits of your labor. Ito mabilis lang. Kasi you do know that you have to file income taxes, right? But what is income? Income, papasok. It also means it's a flow. So income is because you earn from your work, because it's a flow. Every time you're working in the company, every month you get paid, that is income. Flow siya. So you pay income taxes on the sale of your work as business tax if you regularly sell. Now let's say in 1 year, talaga naman regularly ka nagbebenta, wala ka lang na ibebenta. It's still considered income because you have to register your business even if you're just one person, pero wala kang kita. So zero sales, zero din ang tax. So why do I talk about taxes? Because I encourage you to register your business. You get your usual business licenses and so on. I encourage you to incorporate kasi may bagong batas na you don't have to be 5 people to create a corporation. Thank you, Duterte administration. Sorry. Totoo yan. So, why? Because now, if you have a corporation and there are losses, the losses are borne only by the corporation. If you are a sole proprietorship, your personal assets will answer for the damages pag kinulang yung assets that na nilaan mo for your business. So you must separate your personal expenses and all that from your corporate expenses. So the corporate income, the corporate assets will answer for losses or damages incurred by the corporation. And so you are shielded personally. Yung personal account mo, personal assets mo, yung house mo, kung hiwalay siya from your corporation, you don't register your house as being under the corporation, your car, and so on, these will be protected. Hindi yan hihilahin ng mga creditors ng corporation. That's why I always encourage everybody, please register as a corporation. Protected po kayo. You can also use the corporation to go after the copyright that is being violated if there are violations of your copyright. And you can use as a business deductible expense your legal expenses under the corporation. VAT. VAT is value added. So normally, creative work is almost always covered by VAT. How much is VAT? We have the most expensive VAT in the world, 112. Yeah. So, how do you compute VAT? That's a science. Which I hate, absolutely hate. That's why I hate that stuff. You compute, may VAT, dun pag bibili kayo ng materials, may resibo yan. Titignan nyo yung VAT. That is your input VAT. Exempt na kayo from paying that. So, that's why you have to collect your receipts. And then, what you will put in as your input VAT, your work, any work that you did, your labor, all of that, that is the value added. May VAT amount yan. So I also encourage, for the first time, if you've incorporated, now you're going to pay income taxes the first round, get either a tax lawyer or an accountant to help you file your taxes the first round. Magpatulo kayo and that is allowed. You can ask them kasi that's part of housekeeping. Now VAT isn't paid once a year, it's paid every month. That's why, or sometimes quarterly, depende kung anong bracket na pupunta kayo. So that's why it's important, get an accountant or a tax lawyer to help you with the first part. Or, as in some cases, they use the galleries. Yung galleries na ang magpa-file ng income tax, depending on your agreement. Kasi di ba, some galleries, meron silang parang in-residence na artist, or in-house, or yun yung artists that are attached to only one particular gallery. That can be part of your agreement or a separate contract with the gallery, that they will assist you in the paying of income taxes kasi sila yung mga molekta ng mga resibo. Resibo nila yung ginagamit natin para ma-prove yung sale ng work ninyo. There also has to be a certificate of transfer, ha? When you transfer to the gallery. Otherwise, if the gallery is selling in your name, the receipt must be issued in your name. If wala kayong agreement and the gallery issues the receipt, the third person will assume that the gallery is the owner. Okay? So there has to be a transfer. Either you transferred ownership to the gallery for a certain particular period for the purpose of resale. So there has to be a transfer document, either a contract or a receipt that they receive this. So ang ginagawa ng iba, received in trust, meaning pinapahawak ko sa inyo gallery for purpose of resale. Walang ownership transfer ito. So, pwede rin ganon. So, like I said, your contract with the gallery, very important. Always decide what your relationship is with the gallery and what work you want them to do. And remember, when you're talking with the gallery owner, always make it clear. Pag sinabi nila, kami ba ang mag-transfer ng ownership? If the gallery is buying, hindi lang sabihin ninyo, yung resale ko, meron akong 5% dyan. Or depending on the amount. 5 or so hopefully 1% lang kasi ganun kamahal na kayo magsingil. Okay. Documentary stamp taxes. Saan ito lumilitaw? Sa contracts. And it is computed at a percentage of the contract price. Yun yung selyo. There's a little stamp there. Usually nakikita natin yung mga stamps na ganyan sa beer, alcoholic drinks. Sa atin, documentary stamp tax. Okay, questions pa? Okay. Libel. Ready na ba kayo? Libel. Okay, minsan, hindi natin naiiwasan. Meron mga wala, hindi lang pala libel, may obscenity pa. In this day and age, ito bihira na to, yung obscenity. Kasi meron tayong MTRCB. So, supposedly sila yung guardians of morality. So sila yung nagde-determine kung may obscenity. So it's usually subject to a rating. Visual arts, walang ganun. Wala tayong MTRCB. So, subject ba to obscenity laws? Depende. Depende kung sinong tupakin. But usually, it's very, very rare. And ang hinihingi lang usually sa ganito, take down. Not destruction of the work. In the olden days, in the 1930s up until the 1960s, nag-a-apply pa yung obscenity laws, pinapasira yung work. Ngayon, hindi na. Take down lang. Gallery. So, Medeo Cruz, naalala niyo? Medeo Cruz had a, ano ba tawag dun sa work niya? Meron siyang painting ni Cristo. Tapos merong yung hindi man in the barrel, but the thing itself. Okay, a phallic symbol there. Very, very graphic. Yung yung ashtray, katabi niya. So, along with other things. So, this was displayed in the CCP. Kaya the issue was so big, nagka-Senate investigation. Siyempre, kinampihan ng NCCA si Medeo. No? Kakampihan natin talaga yung artist all the time. Bakit? Free speech yan eh. Guaranteed, the Constitution says that no law shall be passed abridging the freedom of speech, of expression, or of the press. OA talaga yung batas natin. Any one of those would have been correct already, encompassing na lahat. But freedom of speech, freedom of expression, that is your right as an artist. And all the laws that are created to limit that must, what we lawyers refer to, pass constitutional muster. It means that if anybody says na that law shouldn't apply because there's free speech, you go to the Supreme Court will decide whether that law is in consonance with the constitutional guarantee of free speech. Now, there are laws that do limit speech. One of them is libel. The others, false publications, inciting to sedition, inciting to rebellion, inciting to war, inciting to terrorism, etc. So, nakikita na natin where the limitations are, di ba? So, pagka yung meron pa, libel and scurrilous libels. Those are two separate provisions. Scurrilous libels pertain to sedition. So, when you commit a very base, gross, and abusive libel against a sitting public officer with the intention of taking him down, that is a scurrilous libel, but it's not punished as that, but it's punished as inciting to sedition. Now, there are certain visual representations. With Medeo, it became an issue, but there was no case filed. But the issue was whether or not the government can spend for this kind of work. Okay, away kami ng NCCA board niyan. Ako, nasa site ako ng Medeo. The board didn't want to, pero sabi ko, if the NCCA isn't the one to protect us, and it's in our law, the NCCA must guard the free expression of artists, must protect or help protect artists' rights. So if there's any agency na dapat kumakampi sa artist, it should be the NCCA. So tumahimik ang board. They allowed me to argue with the media kasi hindi naman siya kaso eh. So what is the argument here? The issue kasi is, sabi ko, what exactly is obscene or what exactly is it that offends you? Kasi yung phallic symbol na yon, nabibili nyo sa palengke. Yung portrait ni Cristo is a reproduced one that you see in altars all over, in households everywhere. You are only offended dahil pinagtabi mo. And putting these two together is still expression. So of course, galit na galit yung mga bishops and all that. But during the Senate investigation, they had to admit it violates no law. Sabi niya, it doesn't even offend religious feelings kasi hindi nangyari sa loob ng simbahan. Now, the Senate was asking, CCP, ano tong pinaggagawa ninyo? Dapat ba tanggalan namin kayo ng budget? Oh, talaga. So Sabi ko, how can you argue that the CCP did anything wrong if it did not violate a law? So, what are you saying? That CCP violated a moral standard? What moral standard? Where is it written and have you established this? So in the absence of any objective moral standard that is contained in some doctrine somewhere, they were unable to prove that their offended feelings had a basis in a national policy or even in a CCP policy. Sabi ko, well, it is contained in a policy. It's called free speech. That is the policy. So you must understand that the first thing that the Constitution guarantees is free speech. The limitation of your speech must pass constitutional muster, meaning the person claiming obscenity, the person claiming that obscenity must prove that there is a violation of a moral standard. So, in Medeo's case, hindi nila mapatunayan yon. So, it never became a court case. But if you really want to get in trouble with the holier than thou people, sige, go right ahead and do something like that. Because art isn't just supposed to be pretty pictures, di ba? You're supposed to initiate a conversation. Why is it suddenly these two things you would not look twice, but once you put them close together, boom. It's like a nuclear reaction. So, ibig sabihin, at that point was a right time for conversation about these kinds of art, installation art. We missed an opportunity there, although I think Medeo did a very good job explaining it afterward. Okay, libel. What is libel? Libel is a malicious imputation, a public and malicious imputation of a crime, vice, or defect, or a malicious imputation of an act, omission, kabisado yung buo. Haba kasi ito eh. Act, omission, condition, status, or circumstance tending to cause dishonor. Ito ba? Yeah, dishonor, personal hatred. Yeah, dishonor, discredit, or contempt of a natural or juridical person. What is a juridical person? It's a corporation. Or, and this is important, to blacken the memory of one who is dead. So, ibig sabihin na libel din yung patay. Okay, just because a person is dead doesn't mean you don't get sued for libel. So, public means that there has to be publication. So, if you're an editorial cartoonist, you put it in any kind of media, kahit social media, that is publication. Public. What if it's in a chat group? There are instances, nagsettle lang yung mga kaso, nasa chat group, pero yung mga nasa chat group, 100. Yung mga Viber groups, pinost doon, publication yan. Malicious, what is malice? Intended goodwill, ill will. Malice is when you know it is not true, but you post it anyway to cause dishonor, shame, to ruin a person's reputation, a disregard, reckless disregard for the truth. That is malice. Okay? Without malice, there is no libel. So, ibig sabihin yung libel, may intention kang manira, so kahit hindi totoo, sinasabi ninyo. Or, hindi siya 100% totoo, pero sasabihin nyo pa rin to cause dishonor on that person. Okay? Malicious disregard for the truth. Yun yung statement doon. Now, what is slander? Dati, ang dali ng distinction. Pag written or printed, libel. Pag spoken, slander. Unfortunately, pag nasa video ka, naka-Facebook Live ka, or whatever, it is contained in a medium that is published. And so ngayon, kahit salita yan, libel pa rin yan. Slander is slander yung kaharap mo. Wala akong maisip na example. Kasi sa vlogging, ako lang hindi mapanahura sa kanila. So, ako na rin, sabihin ko sa harap ng tao, o ikaw, kabit ng bayan. Ano pa ba yun? Mas kayo kami ba yun? So, okay, whatever. So, sino ba nagsabi nun? O, basta, ganon. May mga tao na sinasabihan ng ganon. Slander, kasi spoken, not published. Sa Facebook, mag-post ka status message, o, itong si ano, hindi mo pinangalanan. Pero yung description is sufficient to identify the person. Check mo yung comment section. Si ano yan, kung halos 90% yan, iisang sinasabi, hindi ka exempt kahit hindi mo pinangalanan. Okay? If the person is named, definitely libel. If sufficiently identified, na halos walang iba na iniisip, yun pa rin yun. Okay? So, libel pa rin yun. So, any of the missing elements, no publication, no malice, kahit isa lang doon, kahit may imputation of a crime, vice, defect, or any act or omission causing dishonor, it ruins a reputation, etc. Wala pa rin libel yun. Now, what if it's the truth? Depends. Ibig sabihin, truth is not always a defense in libel, ha? Okay. Private person, nananahimik yung isang tao, works as a secretary in a small company, ganyan. Nakaawa yung kapitbahay. Si kapitbahay, pinost niya. O yung kapitbahay ko, si Miss X, may kabit siya, 3 anak, iba-iba yung tatay, etc. Masakit pa rin ang tatay. Hindi ako sure kasi iba na yung nag-i-evolve din kasi yung morality. So, pinost niya yun. Libel, kahit totoo. Hindi. Bakit? There is no public good. Ano yung intention niya para sabihin nun? Purely manira lang. Even if it is true, there is no intention for any public interest. There's no public good. There's nothing good to come out of it. Nananahimik yung tao. Galit lang kayo, pinost nyo yun. Libel pa rin, kahit totoo. So, truth is not always a defense. Generally, about 90% of the cases, yes. Now, the idea of public figures. Ano yung public figure? Either sufficient fame, kilala na yung tao, or notoriety. So, yung konsepto ng celebrity, that's exactly what a public figure is. Known for something. Fashion model, artista, notoriety, yung mga katulad ng mga, yung nakasuhan ng milyon-milyon sa pyramiding, yan. Notoriety, public, yan. Public figure, yan. Bakit tayo nagdi-distinguish between public figures and ordinary people? Malice. For an ordinary person who is not a public figure, malice is presumed. So, kunwari, ordinary person, di naman kilala pa, although let's say aspiring actress, pero wala pang pelikula, wala pang kahit ano. Hindi pa lumalabas anywhere, napasubmit pa lang ng resume. Okay. Tapos pinost mo, nabalangura mo yung pagkatao niya and all of that. So, the presumption is,